Hey guys, good evening. Well, it's Sunday night for me, but anyway, come to find out they were lying to us about the weather balloons, the spy balloons, the Chinese spy balloons. What else are they lying to us about? Let's watch this clip. Crazy.
Some of the other big stories that we are following, and you might remember this video right here on your screen. 2 years after a mysterious off the coast of South Carolina, we are learning new details about what was apparently inside. The balloon was shot down by the U.S. military over the Atlantic Ocean back on February 4th of 2023 after flying over Alaska, across the U.S., and then over to the East Coast. A report published by Newsweek now states the balloon contained technology from at least 5 American companies. The report states inside the balloon were a satellite communication module, sensors, and other sophisticated surveillance equipment, some of which was held in a foam cooler. The FBI has not responded to any questions about the report. Now, back when the balloon was first spotted, the Chinese government claimed it was a weather balloon that blew off course, but U.S. intelligence agencies found it was actually being used for spying. U.S. intelligence officials have said that the information captured by the balloon was not successfully relayed to China. I do want to discuss really all of this here and the latest developments, so let's bring in a guest again to discuss all of it. We do have Patrick Cronin, the Asia Pacific Security Chair over at the Hudson Institute. Thank you so much.
That is crazy. Why would they do that? That is nuts. This is the first time I've heard about not being Chinese.
For taking the time to join us here and help discuss this all really just a little bit further as we work to piece it all together.
You're welcome.
Of course. And first off, I do want to ask you, overall, what do you make of the contents here that were reported to be inside that balloon 2 years later?
Well, my first reaction is how little we still know publicly about the details. We do know a few specifics that the Newsweek article has now
I want to know.
Unearthed, but that's mostly because they've been talking with some of the authors or people with access to a 75-page exhaustive analysis of the contents of that espionage balloon that was shot down 2 years ago. And so, as you've mentioned, we've found out that this U.S. technology, cheap technology in many cases, the iridium signals burst module that is like a sat phone, a cheap sat phone, sitting in a foam cooler, which is very cheap technology indeed. Think of keeping your iPhone dry. But this is technology when used for malign purposes and put together in an integrated system, and then maybe used as one facet of a multi-layered a sort of global surveillance system. The Chinese are able to pick up a range of intelligence. So they were able to obviously have images, think close-up imagery, better than satellite imagery. They're able to steal and intercept signals. They're able to detect our own electronic emissions, including over military bases.
That is crazy. Did anybody else hear about this? I have never seen this before. Unbelievable.
Bases and installations, and the fact that they claim it was a weather balloon, that sounds like just a typical cover story that an intelligence agency like the Ministry of State Security or the People's Liberation Army would use just to deny that they are spying on the United States. The fact that it blew over the United States, the continental United States, whether that was an accident or not, in terms of the weather driving it off course, well, the reports were that it was headed for Hawaii, and we've seen these balloons, similar balloons over Guam. We've seen them over allies and friends countries, South Korea, over Japan, over Taiwan. So this is a systematic program that the PLA has been trying to exploit, develop, and especially over the past decade. And yet here we are 2 years later after this very dramatic shoot down of the balloon, and we still are eager to find out much more than we know now.
Do we know overall if these balloons do pose any sort of threat to the United States? Do we really have that answer just yet?
Didn't they say there was more than one? I believe there was. I thought there was like three of them. What do we? Yeah, what do we got to do to find out?
Yeah.
Well, we have contradictory statements coming out of the government, right? So the last administration claimed that whatever data collection this balloon was able to undertake was not transmitted back to China. That was what was called a high certainty intelligence finding under the Biden administration. But I'm not sure that should be the last word about whether they were successful with this. And it's certainly not the last word about this balloon surveillance program. The fact that we have heard so little about the details of this, including even now with this excellent Newsweek report, but still one that's sketchy, and it's based on a verbal discussion of a report, not the actual 75-page detailed report, we're still left wondering how much of an espionage threat this really was. This was just because it's using cheap technology, though, doesn't mean it wasn't a sophisticated espionage attempt in the sense that we live in a world of ubiquitous, cheap digital technology. And if you can use that and string that together for malign purposes and get access, as the Chinese have been doing through this near space access, 20 kilometers above countries of the United States, you're in a sweet spot to kind of get wide view technology coverage and to go where places where United States government didn't think you'd be going, and not to mention other governments who don't have the same early warning systems, the same ability to sort of counter surveillance. So this was a wide a wide-eyed moment for the United States intelligence community and military community to realize this is a bigger, even if it's a cheap challenge. We don't want to use F-22s to be shooting down every little cheap spy balloon, but the spy balloons, just because they're cheap, relatively cheap, doesn't make them less of a threat.
And when you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that video, and it's hard to believe it was back in February of 2023. We're talking 2 years ago. Do other countries use these kind of spy balloons? Do we have that answer?
Well, we know balloons have been used for a couple hundred years for military battlefields and for spying. We certainly know that the United States, that Russia, Iran, North Korea have all used balloons.
Huh. All right, because I got the impression that it wasn't Chinese.
For a variety of reasons to collect data, or for if communications were to fail, for emergencies. There are a lot of different possible uses, but there's no doubt that it's not just China using them. And yet, if any individual just does a Google Scholar kind of search of academic articles written by Chinese scholars in the last 2 or 3 years on stratospheric aerostats, for instance, you'd be amazed at how many Chinese scientists seem to be working on these issues. And we know that this is a Chinese program that really, in the first part of this century, started to develop. They started to write a lot of papers in the mid-2000s, and by 2015...
Yeah, this guy's a little long-winded. Let me see if there's anything else
about their systems.
All right, so, yeah, I guess, man... Yeah, I don't know, man. It's been a long time since I've seen anything on the Chinese spy balloons, but yeah, they're getting to figure out. Hopefully, we can figure out what's in those. What were they taking pictures of, or what exactly was on there? So that's one thing we'll have to look at. But hey, that's one thing. Maybe we can talk to President Trump about. Maybe we could find out what's on all these spy balloons. But with that being said, we're gonna wrap this one up, and then please like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video. Thanks, fam. I appreciate it. See you next time.